He's not just in my house. He's inside everything I built. The sound of Alana's heels clicking against our hardwood floors had always been music to my ears. Tonight, it sounded like a funeral march. I'm Lucas Brener, and I used to think I knew my wife. 38 years old, ex-union electrician turned small business owner, and apparently the biggest fool in our mid-sized Midwest city. The kind of place where everyone knows everyone's business except when it comes to your own marriage. Luke, have you seen my diamond earrings? Alana called from our bedroom, her voice carrying that particular edge it gets when she's planning something I won't like. I looked up for my beer in the basketball game I wasn't really watching. The ones I bought you for our anniversary. Check the jewelry box. She appeared in the doorway, stunning as always, 34 auburn hair, perfectly styled, wearing a black dress that costs more than most people's rent. Marketing manager at Dorsey & Associates. She made good money, but not diamond earrings every month money. That should have been my first clue. I'm going out with the girls tonight, she announced, not asking, just informing me like I was her secretary instead of her husband. Which girls? I asked, though I already knew the answer would irritate me. Sasha and Leah. We're checking out that new wine bar downtown. She was applying lipstick in the hallway mirror, not even looking at me. Don't wait up. Sasha Martinez was Alana's enabler, the kind of friend who cheered on bad decisions and called it empowerment. Leah Johnson was different, quieter, more observant. Sometimes I caught her looking at me with something that might have been pity. Dressed pretty fancy for wine with the girls, I observed, taking another sip of my Budweiser. Alana finally turned to face me, and I saw something flicker in her eyes. Guilt? Fear? It was gone too quickly to tell. A woman should always look her best, Luke. Maybe if you understood that, you'd put more effort into yourself. She gestured at my jeans and flannel shirt. When's the last time you wore something that wasn't from Walmart? The insult stung because it was designed to. Alana had a gift for finding the exact words that would cut deepest. But tonight, something felt different. She was trying too hard, pushing too many buttons at once. You know what, Alana? You're absolutely right. I should care more about appearances. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, and grabbed our landline phone. Here, call your girls. Tell them you're running late. She stared at the phone like it was a snake. What are you talking about? If you're really going out with Sasha and Leah, call them right now. Tell them you'll be there in 20 minutes. The color drained from her face. I don't need to prove anything to you. Then prove it to yourself. I held out the phone. Unless there's a reason you can't call them. For a moment, we stood there in our kitchen. The same kitchen where we'd planned our future, where she'd told me she loved me, where I proposed 5 years ago, staring at each other across a gulf that seemed to widen by the second. Alana's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and her face went white. Everything okay? I asked. She was reading a text message, her hands starting to shake. Whatever it said, it wasn't good news. I have to go, she whispered. Alana, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. She grabbed her purse, fumbling with the clasp. It's nothing, just girl drama. You wouldn't understand. But as she bent over to pick up her keys, something small and black fell out of her purse. It looked like a button, but when I picked it up, I realized what it was. A listening device. My wife was wearing a wire. Alana. My voice was deadly quiet. What the heck is this? She spun around, saw what I was holding, and the last bit of color left her face. Luke, I can explain. I'm listening. It's not what you think. I mean, it's complicated. Try me. I'm smarter than I look. She sat down heavily on our kitchen stool, suddenly looking older than her 34 years. There's this guy, Miles Carter. He owns that luxury car rental place downtown. I knew Miles Carter by reputation. Smooth talking, flashy cars. The kind of guy who wore 1,000 suits and called everyone buddy. Also married, though that apparently didn't stop him from hitting on every attractive woman in town. What about him? He's been pressuring me about work stuff, about personal stuff. He said if I didn't help him with something, he'd ruin my career. What kind of something? Alana looked at the listening device in my hand. He wanted me to record conversations with you about your business, your clients, your finances. The pieces started falling into place. My electrical contracting business had been doing well. Too well, apparently. Well enough to make someone think there was money to be made or stolen. How long has this been going on? 3 months. The words came out like a confession. Luke, I never wanted to hurt you, but he said he had photos. Evidence of things that could destroy me. I was scared. What kind of photos? She couldn't meet my eyes. The kind that would end my marriage. And there it was. The truth. Finally, my wife was being blackmailed because she'd been having an affair with Miles Carter or someone else. It didn't matter. What mattered was that she'd chosen to betray me rather than trust me. Get out, I said quietly. Luke, please let me explain. Get out of my house now. She stood up, tears streaming down her face, but I was past caring about her tears. Where am I supposed to go? Try Miles Carter's place. I'm sure he'll take good care of you. Alana grabbed her purse and headed for the door, then turned back. You don't know what you're getting into, Luke. Miles isn't just some sleazy businessman. He's connected to people who don't forgive and forget. Neither do I replied. She left and I heard her car start up and drive away. I sat in my kitchen holding the listening device, thinking. About 3 months of lies and deception. 3 months of my wife coming home and kissing me with lips that had been on another man. 3 months of her gathering information to help someone destroy everything I'd worked for. My phone rang. It was Sam Rodriguez, my best friend since high school and now a private investigator after 20 years as a cop. Luke, you busy? I just saw Alana tearing out of your driveway like her hair was on fire. Sam, I need your help. How fast can you get over here? 10 minutes. What's going on? My wife's been playing spy for someone who wants to destroy my business, and I think it's time to return the favor. After I hung up, I walked to my living room window and looked out at our quiet neighborhood. Normal houses, normal people, normal lives. But normal was over for me. Alana had made sure of that. I thought about the listening device about Miles Carter. About 3 months of lies. Then I smiled for the first time all evening. If they wanted to play games, I'd show them how the game was really played. Sam showed up in 9 minutes, which was typical. When Sam Rodriguez said 10 minutes, he meant 9. 20 years as a cop had made him precise about everything, especially time. You look like heck, he said, settling into my kitchen chair with a cup of coffee. Feel worse. I filled him in on everything. The listening device, Alana's confession, Miles Carter, the whole mess. Sam listened without interrupting, which was another cop habit. Miles Carter, he said when I finished. I know that name. Ran a background check on him last year for a divorce case. Guy's dirty but smart about it. What kind of dirty? The kind where nothing sticks. Luxury car rentals are perfect for money laundering. Cash business, expensive inventory, lots of legitimate reasons for large transactions. Sam pulled out his phone. But here's what's interesting. 3 different women have filed complaints against him in the last 2 years. Misconduct, harassment, coercion, blackmail, all dropped. Before they went anywhere. Let me guess. He had photos or videos or financial leverage. Guy's got a system. Sam looked at me seriously. Luke, if Alana's mixed up with him, she's in over her head. Question is, do you want to save her or bury her? I thought about that for a long moment. 3 months ago, I would have said save her without hesitation. Now, I want the truth. All of it. Then I'll decide. Fair enough. Where do we start with his cars? Miles Carter loves his cars more than anything else in the world. I say we get to know them better. The next morning, I drove to Carter Luxury Rentals. It was exactly what you'd expect. Gleaming showroom, expensive cars, and Miles Carter himself holding court near a red Ferrari, talking to a blonde woman young enough to be his daughter. He was shorter than I'd expected, maybe 5 feet 8 inches, with the kind of tan that came from expensive vacations and the kind of smile that never reached his eyes. When he saw me walk in, his expression shifted from salesman smooth to something more calculating. "Can I help you?" he asked, dismissing the blonde with a wave. "Lucas Brener," I said, extending my hand. "I think you know my wife, Alana." His handshake was firm, but his palm was sweaty. "Alana Brener." "Yes, we've met at some business functions." "Lovely woman. How can I help you today?" "I'm thinking about surprising her. Anniversary is coming up and she's always wanted to drive something exotic. Maybe take a weekend trip." The lie came easily and I could see Miles relaxing. Just another husband trying to make his wife happy. If only he knew. "What did you have in mind?" "Something fast, something memorable." "What would you recommend?" He led me toward a silver Porsche Emergency. "This is our most popular model for romantic getaways. 300 horsepower 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds. Your wife would love it. Mind if I take a look under the hood?" "Of course." As he popped the hood, I palmed the GPS tracker Sam had given me and stuck it under the engine compartment. Militera magnetic battery life of 6 months. If Miles Carter drove anywhere interesting, we'd know about it. "Beautiful engine," I said, genuinely admiring the engineering. "What's something like this run for a weekend?" $1,200 for Friday through Sunday. But for a friend of Alana's, I could do $1,000. "Friend of Alana's, right? Let me talk to her about dates." I said, "I'll call you." "Looking forward to it." I left the dealership and drove to my office, a small building I own near the industrial district. Brener Electrical had 12 employees and contracts with half the businesses in town. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. Built from nothing with my own hands and brain. My office manager, Janet, looked up when I walked in. "You've got 3 messages from potential clients and 2 from existing ones wanting to expand their contracts. Good news day." "Any calls from Alana?" "No, but her friend Sasha stopped by about an hour ago. Said she was looking for you." That was interesting. Sasha Martinez had never shown any interest in my business before. "What did she want?" "Didn't say, just asked if you were in." Looked around a bit, then left. Seemed nervous. I went into my office and called Sam. "The tracker's in place, and I think Alana's friends are fishing for information." "Good. I've got news, too. Ran surveillance on Carter's place last night. He had 3 different women come by his apartment. None of them stayed long, but all of them looked upset when they left. Blackmail victims. That'd be my guess. I got photos, license plates, the works. Want me to approach them?" "Not yet. Let's see what else we can learn first." That afternoon, I got my answer. Sam called with excitement in his voice. "Luke, you need to hear this. I've been monitoring police frequencies and there's been chatter about Carter. Seems like someone's been asking questions about his business operations." "What kind of questions?" "The federal kind. FBI Financial Crimes Unit has been sniffing around his car lot. Whatever he's into, it's bigger than just blackmailing married women." This was getting more complicated by the hour. My wife wasn't just having an affair with a sleazy businessman. She was mixed up with someone who might be under federal investigation. My phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "Stop digging or your wife pays the price." I showed it to Sam when he arrived at my office 20 minutes later. "Amateurs," he said dismissively. "Real professionals don't make threats via text message. This is Carter trying to scare you off. Is it working? Are you?" I thought about Alana, about 3 months of lies about the listening device. No, I'm pissed. Good, because I just got a hit on that GPS tracker. Carter's been making regular trips to a warehouse on the south side. Industrial area, lots of privacy. Want to take a look? We drove to the warehouse district in Sam's car, a nondescript sedan that looked like every other middle-aged guy's transportation. The warehouse was exactly what Sam had described, isolated, run down, the kind of place where people conducted business they didn't want witnessed there. Sam pointed to a silver Porsche parked behind the building. "Same car you looked at this morning." We parked across the street and waited. After 40 minutes, Miles Carter emerged from the warehouse with 2 other men. Even from a distance, they looked like trouble. Big, well-dressed, the kind of guys who solved problems with their hands. Muscle, Sam observed. Carter's got protection. Or bosses. Either way, your wife picked the wrong guy to have an affair with. Carter and the 2 men talked for another few minutes, then got into separate cars and drove away. Sam and I followed the Porsche at a safe distance, watching as it headed not toward Carter's apartment or business, but toward the upscale part of town, toward my neighborhood. "Son of a witch is going to your house," Sam said. "Alana's there. I saw her car this morning when I left for work." We watched from 2 blocks away as Carter parked in my driveway and walked up to my front door like he owned the place. Alana led him in immediately. "How long has this been going on?" I asked, more to myself than to Sam. "Long enough that he's comfortable showing up at your house in broad daylight." We sat there for 2 hours watching my house, watching my wife entertain her lover in my living room. When Carter finally left, he was carrying a manila envelope. "More information," Sam said, "about your business, your clients, your finances. He's draining you dry through her." That night, I sat in my kitchen again, thinking about everything I'd learned. My wife was having an affair with a man who was probably a criminal. She'd been feeding him information about my business for months. And now federal agents were asking questions about his operations. I was trapped in the middle of something that could destroy everything I'd worked for. But I wasn't helpless. I had Sam. I had information. And I had something Miles Carter didn't expect. I had nothing left to lose. The next morning, I woke up to find Alana making coffee in our kitchen like nothing had happened. She was wearing one of my own old t-shirts and pajama pants, looking like the woman I'd fallen in love with instead of the stranger who'd been betraying me. "Morning," she said without looking up. "I made extra coffee." "Where did you sleep last night?" "Guest room." "I figured you needed space to think." "Space to think?" As if this was some minor marital disagreement instead of systematic betrayal and espionage. "Alana, we need to talk." "I know." She finally looked at me and I could see she'd been crying. "Luke, I want to fix this. I want to fix us." "Do you?" "'Cause yesterday Miles Carter was here for 2 hours in our house. And when he left, he was carrying an envelope." The coffee mug slipped from her hands, shattering on the kitchen floor. "You were watching the house." "I was protecting my interests." "What was in the envelope, Alana?" She knelt down to pick up the piece of broken ceramic, her hands shaking. "Client lists, financial records. He said if I didn't give them to him, he'd send the photos to your biggest customers." "What photos of us together in compromising positions?" I felt something cold settle in my stomach. "How many photos?" "Dozens. Videos, too. He's been recording everything for months." "Why didn't you come to me? Why didn't you tell me what was happening?" Alana looked up from the broken mug, tears streaming down her face. "Because I was ashamed. 'Cause I knew you'd leave me. Because I thought I could handle it myself. By giving him everything he wanted. By giving him enough to keep him quiet until I could figure out how to stop him." I helped her up, guided her to a chair. Despite everything, despite the betrayal and lies, she was still my wife, and she was scared. "Alana, Miles Carter isn't just some sleazy businessman. He's connected to serious people. Federal agents are asking questions about his operations. You're not just cheating on me. You're involved in something that could put you in prison." Her face went white. "What are you talking about?" I told her about the warehouse, the muscle, the federal investigation. With each detail, she seemed to shrink further into herself. "Oh God," she whispered. "What have I done? The question is, what are we going to do about it?" Before she could answer, my phone rang. Janet from the office. "Luke, you need to get down here. We've got problems." "What kind of problems?" 3 of our biggest clients just canceled their contracts. All of them citing reliability concerns and questions about business practices. And there's a man here from the Better Business Bureau wanting to discuss some complaints. I hung up and looked at Alana. "It's starting. Carter's using the information you gave him to destroy my business." "Luke, I'm sorry. I never wanted this to happen. Sorry, doesn't pay the bills or keep my employees working. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door, then turned back. Pack a bag. You can't stay here anymore. It's not safe. Where am I supposed to go? Figure it out. You're good at keeping secrets. The drive to my office gave me time to think. Carter was moving fast, using Alana's information to systematically destroy my reputation and business relationships. But he was also making mistakes. Moving too fast, being too obvious, leaving too many traces. Janet met me at the door with a stack of papers. The BBB complaint is bogus. Someone claiming we did substandard work on a job we never even bid on. But the client cancellations are real. Morrison Manufacturing, Westside Shopping Center, and the new hospital project. 3 contracts worth over $200,000 gone. Did they give reasons? Morrison said they heard rumors about financial irregularities. Westside mentioned something about potential federal investigations. The hospital just said they were going in a different direction. Someone had been making phone calls, spreading carefully crafted lies designed to sound just plausible enough to make people nervous. It was a professional hit job on my reputation. Janet, I need you to call our lawyer. We're going to fight this. Already did. He's on his way. This is why I paid Janet twice what other office managers made. She anticipated problems and solved them before I even knew they existed. My lawyer, David Kim, arrived an hour later with news that wasn't entirely bad. The BBB complaint is obviously fraudulent, and I can get that dismissed easily. The client cancellations are harder to fight, but if we can prove they were based on false information, we might have grounds for a lawsuit against who? Whoever's spreading the lies. Do you have any idea who might want to hurt your business? I told David about Miles Carter, about the information Alana had been feeding him about the federal investigation. He listened without interrupting, taking notes. This is good, he said when I finished. If Carter's under federal investigation and he's using information obtained through blackmail to interfere with your business relationships, we can nail him for extortion, interference with business relations, maybe even racketeering if the federal case is big enough. What do I need to do? Document everything. Every conversation, every canceled contract, every piece of evidence that links Carter to your business problems. And we need to talk to your wife. Her testimony could be crucial. That evening, I drove home to find Alana's car gone and a knot on the kitchen table. Gone to stay with Leah. We'll call you tomorrow. I'm sorry for everything. I called Sam. She's gone. Staying with Leah Johnson. Probably safer that way. Carter's escalating, which means he's either confident or desperate. Either way, it makes him dangerous. Any word on the federal investigation? Better than that. I've got a contact in the FBI Financial Crimes Unit. Turns out Carter's been on their radar for 2 years. Money laundering, fraud, extortion, the works. They've been building a case and they're close to making arrests. How close? Days, not weeks. Which explains why he's moving so fast against you. He knows the walls are closing in, so he's trying to grab as much as he can before the hammer falls. What about Alana? If she's been helping him, could she be charged, too? Sam was quiet for a moment, possibly. Depends on what she knew and when she knew it. But if she cooperates with the investigation, if she testifies against Carter, the feds might be willing to make a deal. That night, I sat in my empty house, thinking about my wife, my business, and Miles Carter. Everything I'd worked for was under attack, and the woman I'd trusted most in the world had handed my enemies the tools to destroy me. But I wasn't finished yet. Carter thought he was smart, thought he could manipulate and blackmail his way to whatever he wanted. He was about to learn that some people fight back. And when they do, they fight to win. The call came at 6 o'clock in the morning. Alana crying so hard. I could barely understand her. Luke, they broke into Leah's apartment. They were looking for me. I was instantly awake. Are you hurt? Is Leah okay? We weren't here. We stayed at Sasha's last night, but they trashed everything, Luke. They went through all of Leah's things, destroyed her computer, even ended her fish. Ending Petfish wasn't about sending a message. It was about showing how little they cared about collateral damage. These weren't professional intimidation tactics. This was personal. Where are you now? Sasha's apartment. But I don't think we're safe here either. You're not. Pack light and meet me at Sam's office in an hour. Do you remember where it is? Yes, but Luke, 1 hour, Alana, and make sure nobody follows you. Sam's office was in a strip mall between a tax preparation service and a nail salon. Not glamorous, but secure. He'd installed his own security system, and the building had multiple exits. Alana arrived exactly on time, looking like she'd aged 5 years in 2 days. Leah was with her, and I was surprised to see Sasha as well. I'm sorry about your apartment, I told Leah. This is my fault. No, Leah said firmly. This is Miles Carter's fault. And it's time someone stopped him. What do you mean? Leah and Sasha exchanged glances. There's something we haven't told you, Sasha said. About Miles, about what he's been doing. Sam gestured for everyone to sit down. Let's hear it. Miles has been blackmailing women all over town, Leah began. Not just Alana. At least 6 others that we know of, maybe more. How do you know this? Because 2 of them came to me for help. Sasha said, I work in HR at the hospital. Remember, women trust me with their problems. And Miles Carter has been a problem for a lot of women. She pulled out a folder filled with photographs, documents, and handwritten notes. Jennifer Walsh, the city clerk. Miles got her to approve permits for his warehouse without proper inspections. Sarah Chen, who works at First National Bank. She's been providing him with information about business loans and credit reports. Maria Santos, who manages the records department at the courthouse. The scope of it was staggering. Miles Carter hadn't just been blackmailing my wife. He'd been running a systematic operation compromising women in key positions throughout the city's government and business infrastructure. What does he have on all of them? I asked. Same thing he had on me, Alana said quietly. Photos, videos, evidence of affairs. He targets married women, seduces them, records everything, then uses it to control them. It's a business model, Sam observed. Recruit assets and key positions, compromise them intimately, then leverage the blackmail material to obtain information and favors. Classic intelligence operation, but focused on financial crimes instead of national security. So, what do we do about it? I asked. We fight back, Leah said. All of us together. Over the next 3 hours, we developed a plan. It was risky, probably illegal in some aspects, but it had one major advantage. Miles Carter wouldn't see it coming. The plan relied on the fact that Carter thought he controlled all of his victims. He'd grown comfortable, arrogant, sloppy. He was about to learn that cornered people don't always run. Sometimes they bite. Phase 1 began that afternoon. Sasha, using her position at the hospital, started making discreet inquiries about Carter's medical records. Not to obtain them. That would be illegal, but to confirm he was a patient there and to identify his primary physician. Phase 2 involved Leah, who worked as a freelance graphic designer, but had connections throughout the city's business community. She began spreading carefully crafted rumors about Carter's financial situation, suggesting that his luxury car rental business was in trouble and that he might be desperate for cash. Phase 3 was my responsibility. I had Sam help me set up a fake identity. Luke Morrison, supposedly a wealthy businessman from Chicago, looking to invest in local enterprises. Morrison was interested in luxury car rentals and had heard good things about Carter's operation. The hook was simple. Carter was greedy, and greedy people make mistakes when they think they smell easy money. Morrison called Carter's office that evening, expressing interest in buying into the business as a silent partner. Big investment, no questions asked. Cash available immediately. Carter took the meeting. We set it for the next afternoon at Carter's showroom. I spent the morning getting into character. Expensive suit borrowed from David Kim. Fake Rolex bought online. Rental BMW to complete the image. Sam would be watching from across the street, recording everything. Carter was practically salivating when I walked into his showroom. He dressed up for the occasion, too, wearing what was probably his most expensive suit and enough cologne to gas a small building. "Mr. Morrison, welcome to Carter Luxury Rentals. I understand you're interested in investment opportunities." "That's right. I've got some cash I need to park somewhere profitable, and the luxury car business seems like a good fit. Steady income, appreciating assets, tax advantages." We spent an hour going over his books, or at least the books he was willing to show a potential investor. The numbers looked good. Too good, actually. His profit margins were impossibly high, which meant he was either lying about his expenses or had income streams he wasn't reporting. "Impressive operation," I said. "But I'd like to know who I'm doing business with. Tell me about yourself, Miles. What's your background?" 20 years in sales and marketing. Started with nothing. Built this business from the ground up. I understand what it takes to succeed in a competitive market. What about your personal life? Wife, family?" Something flickered in his eyes. "Divorced, no kids. I prefer to focus on business." "Smart man. Relationships can be complicated." "Exactly. Though I have to admit, I do enjoy the company of beautiful women, one of the perks of success." He was practically bragging about his affairs, probably thinking he was impressing a potential business partner with his intimate conquests. Instead, he was providing evidence for the federal investigators who would eventually hear this recording. "I'm interested," I told him. "But I'll need to see all your books, meet with your accountant, maybe visit some of your other operations. I assume you have other business interests." "A few import, export, some real estate investments, consulting work. I like to diversify. Import, export, and consulting work. Classic covers for money-laundering operations." "Excellent. Why don't we continue this conversation over dinner? I know a place downtown that's private, good for business discussions." Carter agreed immediately, probably already spending my fictional investment in his head. We arranged to meet at 8 o'clock at Romano's, an upscale restaurant with excellent acoustics for recording conversations. After Carter left for the day, Sam and I met back at his office to review the afternoon's recording. "Guy's dirty as heck," Sam said. "Import, export, consulting work, profit margins that don't make sense. Plus, he basically admitted to serial adultery. Think it's enough for the feds?" "That's a start. But we need more. We need him to incriminate himself directly on tape with specific details about his criminal activities." That evening, I arrived at Romano's 15 minutes early and chose a corner table with good sight lines and minimal background noise. Sam was already in position at the bar, nursing a beer and looking like any other middle-aged guy, unwinding after work. Carter arrived exactly on time, looking confident and relaxed. He thought he was about to close the deal of a lifetime. Instead, he was about to confess to multiple felonies. "So, Miles," I said after we'd ordered drinks. "Tell me about the warehouse operation I heard about. Sounds like you've got some interesting projects going on there." His face went very still. "What warehouse operation? Come on, Miles. I'm not some tourist with money to burn. I did my homework before coming here. You've got a warehouse on the south side. Regular meetings with some serious-looking people. That's not luxury car rental business." For a moment, I thought he was going to get up and leave. Then greed went out over caution. "You're very well informed, Mr. Morrison. What exactly do you think you know? I think you're running a sophisticated operation that generates a lot of cash, and I think you're looking for ways to legitimize that cash through your car rental business. I also think you're smart enough to know that a partnership with someone like me could solve a lot of problems." Carter leaned back in his chair, studying me. "What kind of problems do you think I have?" "The kind that come with federal attention. The kind that require careful financial planning and reliable partners. And you think you could be that kind of partner?" "I know I could be." Carter was quiet for a long moment, weighing his options. Finally, he leaned forward and lowered his voice. "Let's say hypothetically that a person had access to certain kinds of information, financial records, government documents, business intelligence, and let's say that information was valuable to certain parties who were willing to pay well for it. Hypothetically, such a person would need ways to process payments that couldn't be easily traced. Cash businesses, offshore accounts, complex financial instruments. The luxury car rental business is perfect for that kind of consulting work. What about the information gathering? That seems like the hard part. Carter smiled, and for the first time, I saw the predator behind the salesman facade. You would be surprised how easy it is to motivate people when you understand their weaknesses. Everyone has secrets, Mr. Morrison. Everyone has something they'd rather keep private. A smart businessman learns to leverage those secrets for mutual benefit. Blackmail. I prefer to think of it as relationship management. I had him. Carter had just confessed to blackmail, money laundering, and conspiracy, all recorded on the device hidden in my jacket pocket. But I wanted more. How many relationships are you managing currently? 8 active assets, 3 in development, plus various one-time consulting arrangements. 11 women. Carter is blackmailing 11 women that he'd admit to. Probably more that he wouldn't. That's impressive. What kind of information are you getting? Financial records, government documents, business intelligence, personal information about key figures in the community. You'd be amazed what people will share when they're properly motivated, and your clients, the people buying this information. Carter's expression became guarded. That's need-to-know information, Mr. Morrison. But let's just say there are people who understand the value of good intelligence and have the resources to pay for it. Fair enough. When can we move forward? I'll need to make some calls, get approval from my partners, but assuming everything checks out, we could have paperwork ready by next week. We finished dinner with small talk about cars and business, but the real conversation was over. Carter thought he'd just recruited a new partner for his criminal enterprise. Instead, he provided enough evidence to put himself away for 20 years. After he left, Sam joined me at the table. Please tell me you got all of that. I patted my jacket pocket. Every word. 8 active assets, 3 in development, money laundering through the car business, and partners who pay for stolen information. Outstanding. We need to get this to the feds immediately. Not yet. First, we're going to use it to free those women. All of them. Luke, that's dangerous. If Carter finds out what we're doing, he's going to find out anyway as soon as the FBI kicks down his door. But those women don't deserve to go down with him. They're victims, not criminals. So, what's the plan? I smiled, feeling truly happy for the first time in weeks. We're going to give Miles Carter exactly what he deserves, and we're going to do it in front of the whole town. If you want to see what happens when I finally bring Miles Carter down, make sure you hit subscribe. This story isn't over, and you won't want to miss what comes next.